As Matthew Richards reporting from Connors Quay in Wales. Well, that's all from breakfast today. Ben will be back with Louise from 6 o'clock tomorrow. Of course, our thoughts are with Sir Alex Ferguson this morning, who's been admitted to hospital after suffering a brain hemorrhage. We wish him and his family the speediest of recoveries. Do enjoy the rest of the bank holiday weekend to you all. Goodbye.
This is BBC News, the headlines at 9. Sir Alex Ferguson is in intensive care after emergency surgery for a brain hemorrhage. Messages of support from the game's big names, including David Beckham, signed by Sir Alex at 16, who tweets, "Keep fighting, boss," and Everton manager Sam Allardyce.
I hope he's in good hands, and I hope the operation is a major success because, you know, it's as a personal friend, it's, you know, I hope he has a full recovery.
More than 1,000 doctors have job offers withdrawn because of a clerical blunder. Boris Johnson flies to Washington, trying to persuade the White House not to pull out of the nuclear deal with Iran. Hello, I'm Sean Lay, and in the next hour, a baby prince at home. Kensington Palace releases new family photos of Prince Louis, including one with his sister, Princess Charlotte, taken by the Duchess of Cambridge. And our Sunday morning edition of the papers is at 9:35. This morning's reviewers David Wooding and Ben Chew. A very good morning to you. Welcome to BBC News. Sir Alex Ferguson, the most successful manager in British football history, remains in hospital this morning after undergoing emergency surgery for brain hemorrhage. His former team, Manchester United, said the operation went very well, but that he now needs a period of intensive care. Our sports correspondent David Ornstein reports.
He's one of the greatest figures that football, indeed sport, has ever seen. The messages of support for Sir Alex Ferguson from all over the world, testament to the regard in which he is held. This was the 76-year-old only a week ago, in high spirits and seemingly good health. But last night news emerged that he had been admitted to hospital. A statement released by Manchester United reading, "Sir Alex Ferguson has undergone emergency surgery for a brain hemorrhage. The procedure has gone very well, but he needs a period of intensive care to optimise his recovery." Speculation began when his son Darren, manager of Doncaster Rovers, was absent from their match against Wigan Athletic yesterday, with the club saying it was for family reasons. In a 26-year reign, Sir Alex Ferguson led Manchester United to an incredible 38 trophies, famously winning the treble of Premier League, FA Cup and Champions League in 1999, the same year he was knighted. Gordon Taylor, boss of the Professional Footballers Association, said, "All our thoughts and prayers are with you, Sir Alex. God bless," as well wishes poured in.
Everyone at Match of the Day sends our best wishes to Sir Alex Ferguson, who's had emergency surgery after suffering a brain hemorrhage. Our thoughts are with Sir Alex and his family.
Sir Alex Ferguson's success at Old Trafford earned him legendary status. The hope is he'll win this battle off the pitch, as he did so often on it. David Ornstein, BBC News.
David is outside Old Trafford for us, and he's just sent us this update.
it's impossible to overstate the sort of level of reverence that Sir Alex Ferguson holds within British football, European, world football, but also sport as a whole. Many of the tributes have been flowing in from around the world, from society as well, such as the standing of Sir Alex Ferguson. If we pick out a message from one of his former players, one of the greatest players we've seen in the modern era, Cristiano Ronaldo, he posted a picture of the two of them together when Ronaldo played for Manchester United with the words, "My thoughts and prayers are with you, my dear friend, be strong, boss." We await further news of Sir Alex Ferguson's condition. Nothing yet from Salford Royal, where he is in hospital. Manchester United with the statement we heard there. This place, Old Trafford, is all about Sir Alex Ferguson. There's calm here this morning. We await further developments.
David Ornstein there, and we'll bring you any news we receive from the Royal Salford during the course of BBC News this morning. Now, the Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson is heading to Washington, where he'll try to persuade the US not to abandon the Iran nuclear deal. The agreement saw Iran receive relief from international sanctions in return for limitations to its nuclear energy programme, because of fears that it might also be used for developing nuclear weapons. It was negotiated under Barack Obama's presidency, but Mr Trump has criticised the deal, claiming it's flawed because it doesn't cover the development of ballistic missiles. Mr Trump must decide whether to renew the deal by next Saturday, the next deadline for waiving sanctions. From Washington, our correspondent Chris Buckler reports.
In a series of visits to the White House, European leaders have been trying to get Donald Trump to listen to their concerns about his hardline stance on Iran.
He is going to be a great president of France.
Yet despite the clear warmth with which he greeted the French President Emmanuel Macron and the time he gave the German Chancellor Angela Merkel, President Trump is still threatening to abandon the international agreement that curbs Iran's nuclear programme. He believes the terms are far too lenient, and the president has said he'll decide by Saturday whether to reimpose sanctions on Iran. With that deadline fast approaching, Boris Johnson is travelling to Washington to test his powers of persuasion. He has met Donald Trump before, but currently he's not scheduled to speak with him directly on this trip. Instead, Mr Johnson will speak to the Vice President Mike Pence and a series of other senior White House officials. But the Foreign Secretary will be very aware that it's the President's mind he needs to change. Chris Buckler, BBC News, Washington.
North Korea has accused the United States of deliberately provoking it by suggesting sanctions won't be lifted until it gives up its nuclear weapons. North Korea said Washington was also aggravating the current good atmosphere by deploying military assets on the Korean peninsula. North Korea regularly criticises America, but there have been few attacks in recent weeks amid plans for President Trump to meet the North Korean leader, Kim Jong-un. Here, up to 1,500 junior doctors have had job offers withdrawn following a mistake in the recruitment process. The Royal College of Physicians said the error meant medics who'd been scored on their suitability for posts as registrars were given the wrong mark. The college said human error was to blame in transferring data from one computer to another. The Royal College has apologised and says patient safety hasn't been compromised. While our correspondent Andy Moore is with me, he's been following the story. Andy, this sounds, in terms of the scale of it, hugely embarrassing, but also with quite a lot of implications for the individuals themselves who've gone presumably preparing for jobs that they may not now be suitable for.
That's right. I mean, I think everybody agrees it is a terrible situation we're in. I mean, these are junior doctors who've completed their training. They've done 2 years actually doctoring. They've finished their apprenticeship, as it were, and they're moving on to the next step as registrars. So they've completed their exams, done their interviews. Now, it's in the interview process that something went wrong. It's not computer error this time. It seems to be human error. The wrong marks were transferred across, and on that basis, 1,500 junior doctors were offered jobs. Now, late yesterday, those jobs were retracted. The Royal College of Physicians, who organised the process, say the whole thing is going to be looked at again. Now, for individuals, this means they were told a month ago that they had a job in a certain area. They and their partners are making offers on houses. They're making plans to move. And so we've heard from some of the junior doctors. They say some of them, their colleagues are in tears. And their union, the British Medical Association, on their behalf is hopping mad. They talk about we cannot express how unacceptable we find this situation and the impact, both emotionally and financially. They say they will be looking at what steps can be taken to rectify the immense damage caused. They're not ruling out that there may be claims for compensation. There's also been complaints about the fact that this was dropped late on a Friday night just before a bank holiday weekend, so a lot of junior doctors also complaining about that.
Yeah, presumably some people will have been away, or they might find it difficult to contact the people whose property they might be moving into to rent, or who knows the circumstances for individuals, but clearly complicated. And what sort of time frame are people operating in? I mean, were they expecting to start these jobs, as far as we know, sort of in the next couple of months or in the autumn?
Certainly in the short term. I mean, we've heard from individual doctors. On Twitter, for example, Ben Hudson says, speaks volumes for how the Royal College of Physicians values junior doctors, carelessly playing with people's future. Many important life plans already made on the basis of spurious offers. And he goes on to say, dumped at 4:45 just before bank holiday. Somebody else said, my junior doctor spouse is a wife, and I spent yesterday viewing houses, thinking we could finally get some stability into our lives. It was a done deal. Oops. And then to be told, oops, sorry, we're taking it back. Now, it's interesting to find out whether this was an absolute commitment or an indication. And it seems from the Royal College of Physicians, they're saying that there are small cases of what it calls non-retractable offers. Presumably, it means that most of the offers were retractable. I suspect the individuals and the British Medical Association may take a different view on that.
Indeed, Andy Moore. I'm sure we're going to hear more about this story during the course of the day. Thanks very much. 3 men have been injured in East London by what has been described as a noxious substance. The Metropolitan Police say that it was called to reports of a disturbance on Kingsland High Street in Hackney. 3 men aged 17, 22 and 27 were taken to hospital. Police say so far no arrests have been made. A 17-year-old boy has been charged with grievous bodily harm with intent after a woman was attacked with an electric drill in Strabane in Northern Ireland. The 38-year-old victim suffered a very serious head injury and is in a critical but stable condition in hospital. The teenager was also charged with possession of an offensive weapon in a public place and theft of a drill. He's due to appear in court in Omagh on Monday. A 17-year-old boy has died after being shot in Southwark in South London. Officers, including police, firearms and air ambulance, attended the scene. The victim was pronounced dead just before 7 o'clock last night. The next of kin has been informed. As yet, no arrests have been made. A 20-year-old man has died after being stabbed in Liverpool city centre earlier this morning. Police and paramedics were called to Hanover Street at 4 o'clock after receiving reports of a man with stab wounds. He was taken to hospital but later died from his injuries. Police are appealing for information. Now, for the first time in 9 years, Lebanese voters are choosing a new parliament. Sunday's election is being held under a new voting system aimed at moving the country to a more proportionally representative government. It's beset by sectarian and political divisions, which have been overshadowed by the conflict in Syria, which has led to a mass influx of refugees. Well, in Beirut now is the BBC's Karine Torby. Karine, this has been a difficult time for the government. How likely is it that the current administration will in some form or another be re-elected, given the complications of power sharing in Lebanon?
Very likely, despite the fact that they have introduced a new voting law, as you said, that introduces the concept of proportional representation in Lebanon. There are very few people who are hopeful that today, by the end of this day, we will see a real breakthrough in terms of the representation, and probably many people are expecting more of the same. As you can see behind me, there are long queues of voters eager to cast their vote, eager to have a say in the politics after 9 years since the last time they were able to do this. For twice, the current parliament has extended its mandate in the past. It cited security reasons over fears of spillover of violence from neighboring Syria. As you said, we have almost 1.5 million refugees who came into Lebanon fleeing the war in Syria. But all these reasons given to extend the mandate of the current parliament were seen as unconvincing by many many in the country, and were seen as a setback against a very fragile democracy. And today, people will say whether they would choose alternative groups who are campaigning under the umbrella of civil society, or they will go for the same old establishment party, long-ruling dynasties that some of them have been in power for decades now.
I mean, as you say, for decades, Lebanon was perceived as a country that pretty much was dominated by Syria's influence. Then we had this bizarre incident at the end of last year where the Prime Minister was in Saudi Arabia and the President was suggesting that he'd somehow been kidnapped. I mean, to what extent do Lebanese people feel that their country is their country and not a country where its politics are determined by outsiders?
Well, probably one of the things that voters today want to do is to reclaim the country and to reclaim their vote inside the country and their say inside the country. As you said, this country has passed since 75 to 90 through a period of civil war and extreme violence. After that, it was under the hegemony of the Syrians who were present in the country militarily and politically. In 2005, we entered a new phase after the withdrawals of the Syrians and assassination of the former Prime Minister Rafiq Hariri. And since then, many people thought that that might be launching a new era for Lebanon, state-building area and a country that will focus on its internal problems. What we have seen is Lebanon dragged again into regional polarization between from one side, the Hezbollah and Iran, as it is the ally of Iran. From another side, probably the future movement that was headed by the son of the slain Prime Minister Rafiq Hariri, Saad al-Hariri, and who was backed by the West and by Saudi Arabia. And this polarization was controlling the politics in the country. Up until recently, when we have seen in the run-up to these elections a focus in internal issues, and that was in parallel to mounting anger in the street over incompetence, nepotism, and a state that is unable to deliver the basic services to its citizens. And that's why we have seen a shift in the rhetoric into internal issues, as if there is an implicit understanding between all parties to put aside regional politics and regional differences that are irreconcilable and to focus on internal issues.
Corinne Torbay in Lebanon, thank you very much. 6 Palestinians have been killed and others wounded in an explosion in the Gaza Strip, according to local health officials. It's not clear what caused the blast. Reports suggest the victims appeared to be members of Hamas. It's thought the explosion could have been caused by the handling of explosives inside a building. Tensions in the region are high, with clashes between Palestinians and the Israeli military taking place along the Gaza-Israel border since demonstrations erupted there more than a month ago. Right, let's take a look at the headlines now on BBC News this hour. Sir Alex Ferguson is in intensive care after emergency surgery for a brain hemorrhage. Some of the biggest names in sport have sent messages of support, including David Beckham, who was signed by Sir Alex at 16. He tweets, "Keep fighting, boss." More than 1,000 doctors have job offers withdrawn because of a clerical blunder. Medics who'd been scored on their suitability for posts as registrars were apparently given the wrong marks. Boris Johnson is flying to Washington to urge the US not to scrap the nuclear deal with Iran. President Trump has strongly criticised the agreement, which he's called insane. More now on the news at Sir Alex Ferguson. Britain's most successful football manager is in intensive care after going emergency surgery for a brain hemorrhage. His former team, Manchester United, said the operation has gone very well, but he now needs a period of intensive care. Well, our sports correspondent David Ornstein has been speaking to fans outside Old Trafford this morning.
This is a man who transcends not only football, sport, but also society as a whole. Here at Old Trafford, where he really made his name, a stand is named after Sir Alex Ferguson. A statue was erected in his honour. There's a very calm scene here today as people come to terms with the news, but some fans are beginning to gather. Delighted to be joined by two of them, Pernilla and Junaid. Pernilla, you've travelled a long way to Old Trafford, and what do you make of the news?
I was so sad to hear about Sir Alex's situation, but I mean, he has been my boss for half of my United life, and I really hope that he will get well very soon. So.
Rivalries are what football is all about. Junaid, you're not a Manchester United fan, but perhaps this shows that football can unite despite the divisions that occur on the pitch.
No, I'm actually a Liverpool fan, one of the biggest there is, I'd say. And yeah, there are a lot of rivalries. Honestly, I'm not a big fan of Manchester United as a whole, the players, the fans, the managers, none of them. But what Sir Alex Ferguson has done over his time, amazing. 38 trophies in 26 years, that's what, 13 Premier League titles, that's one every 2 years, which is unheard of. And he was great as a manager. Apparently he's a good person as well, from what I've heard. You can see that through his relations with the players he's managed. And yeah, I wish him all the best, and I wish his family all the best as well.
Yeah, Liverpool were one of the clubs that Sir Alex Ferguson had actually a good relationship with. He offered his support during the Hillsborough disaster. Just finally then, Pernilla, what are the thoughts of the Manchester United fans at this difficult time?
I think he will manage this as well, and I hope that we'll see him soon at the Sir Alex Ferguson stand. I will be there on Sunday, and I hope to see him there. But if not there, then in another time. And I will say, at the end of the day, we are all united. So all the best and vision and love for Sir Alex from me and whole Denmark.
Well, thank you both very much for your time. On what is a difficult day, but everyone is wishing all the best for Sir Alex Ferguson. He's won so many battles on the pitch during his career. Now he'll be hoping to win arguably his biggest fight off the pitch.
David Ornstein there speaking to fans at Old Trafford about the condition of Sir Alex Ferguson. Now, photographs of Prince Louis's first days at home have been released this morning, including an image of the new baby being kissed by older sister Charlotte. The photos were taken by their mum at Kensington Palace when he was just 3 days old. Simon Jones reports.
The newest member of the royal family, Prince Louis, pictured when he was just 3 days old. And here, a tender moment with his sister Princess Charlotte on her third birthday. Both photos taken by their mother. They're the first images of Louis, who's fifth in line to the throne, since he was presented to the world last month. The pictures were taken here at Kensington Palace. The Duke and Duchess of Cambridge said they were very pleased to share them, and they thanked members of the public for all the kind messages they've received following the birth of Prince Louis. We showed the pictures to visitors to the palace.
Oh, isn't he cute? Yeah.
Let me see. Is that Kate?
Yeah. Yeah. That's the new baby. Yeah. We're from the United States. Yeah.
He's handsome.
He does look like a lot of other babies. I've just had 2 newborns in my family.
Lovely. I think it's all children, they're very lovely and cute. Like my dog.
Catherine, one of the world's most photographed people, is viewed as a talented amateur photographer herself. The next big event for the royals will be the marriage of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle later this month. William and Catherine will be there, but Prince Louis, who will then be less than 4 weeks old, will stay at home. Simon Jones, BBC News, Kensington Palace.
Commemorations have taken place on the Scottish island of Isla to mark the 100th anniversary of 2 First World War troopship disasters which took the lives of hundreds of US soldiers. Princess Anne took part in events to mark the sinking of the SS Tuscania and HMS Otranto in 1918. From Isla, our correspondent Glenn Campbell.
As Isla remembered the twin tragedies of 1918 at the American monument on the island, 3 warships from Britain, Germany and the US patrolled its coast. Their naval tribute completed with a wreath-laying at sea. When the Otranto went down off Isla's west coast, 500 men were thrown into the cold, heaving Atlantic in near-hurricane conditions. The ship was badly damaged in a collision and torn to pieces on a reef. It was every man for himself, but they hardly stood a chance. Only 21 made it ashore alive. John Roberts' father was among the lucky few, despite not being able to swim.
He had his life vest on and ended up on the cliff over here.
On shore, the McPhee family saw the disaster unfold and rushed to help.
It was said that they went into the water 7 times and each time pulled out a man.
And one of those men pulled to safety was 17-year-old Private David Roberts. 100 years on, his son has come to thank the family of his father's rescuer, fulfilling a long-held wish.
This would be my last chance. I'm 88, going on 89, so I had to make it right now.
Well, it's a great honour to think that because of their acts and how courageous they were, that there are people alive today that wouldn't be had they not done the things they did.
The sinking of the Otranto tested the people of this island to their limits, but they weren't without experience, because just 8 months before, another troop ship carrying American soldiers across the Atlantic to the war, the SS Tuscania, was torpedoed off Isla with the loss of 200 lives. Isla buried hundreds of men, American soldiers and British crew. All the victims were remembered in a ceremony attended by the Princess Royal and the US Ambassador. Tributes were also paid to the islanders, who found the courage and compassion to cope when mass casualties swept their shores. Glenn Campbell, BBC News, Isle of Isla.
Fascinating story. We're one of so many in the course of the 4 years of the First World War as we reach the climax of those commemorations this year. Now, garden centres and DIY stores are set to cash in on a surge in sales this weekend. Retail figures were badly affected by the lousy weather at Easter, but record temperatures this bank holiday weekend could mean gardeners catch up for lost time. Our business correspondent, the green-fingered Joe Lynham, reports.
This is how some garden centres looked last month. Easter was a financial and meteorological washout for many retailers. What a difference a month makes. Sunshine tends to bring out the shoppers and part-time gardeners. And what will they be buying? Why, busy Lizzie plants, of course. They disappeared 6 years ago, but are back this weekend and expected to fly off the shelves. Who knew?
We're expecting to be very busy. A lot of customers moving outside to do outdoor projects. A lot of people entertaining, buying barbecues, leisure furniture, sofas. Exceptionally busy.
And if this bank holiday weekend is a busy one for the shops, it will be welcome news. According to one piece of research, there was a 21% spike in retailers experiencing financial distress in the first quarter of this year.
I don't think one long bank holiday weekend, nice weather, is going to make up for all the problems that are taking place in the retail sector. It will go some way and it will be a good weekend, but it's not going to change the structural changes that are going on, and a bad Easter, and it was a particularly bad Easter, isn't going to be offset by one bank holiday weekend.
But this month is unusual. It has 2 bank holidays, a Tour de Yorkshire, Champions League and FA Cup finals, and the small matter of a royal wedding. So retailers will want to make a lot of hay, or perhaps dough, while the sun is shining. Joe Lynham, BBC News.
And staying with our theme, who needs tulips from Amsterdam? Take a look at this display, the largest of its kind in the UK, a blaze of colour in the Norfolk landscape. This is what more than 12 million tulips look like. This weekend they're set for the chop though. More than 60 million tulips are grown here in all, but the crop is for bulbs rather than cut flowers to sell to supermarkets for next year. It sort of feels like a terrible waste, that, doesn't it? But at least we got to film it before they cut them all down to size. Right, now at the weather map to tell us what the prospects are, as if we needed to know, Sarah Keith-Lucas.
Hello there. We've got some beautiful late spring weather to take us through the rest of the bank holiday break. High pressure generally in charge, bringing lots of sunshine. Here is the view this morning in Bidston on the Wirral. Blue skies there, and for many parts of the country we'll keep with that theme. Blue skies and sunshine lasting through the day. Things really warming up too. For most places, not everywhere. A bit of a fly in the ointment in terms of a front moving into the northwest of Scotland. This is going to bring more cloud and some outbreaks of patchy rain later on. High pressure holds on elsewhere across the country, but through the Irish Sea there's still quite a lot of low cloud, mist and murk. So some of that fog just drifting on land into parts of Pembrokeshire, perhaps down towards Cornwall and up towards the Isle of Man and Dumfries and Galloway too. But away from these Irish Sea coasts, you're much more likely to see that sunshine. So glorious conditions for many parts of the country. Light winds too. We have got the rain just affecting the far northwest of Scotland. 11 degrees in Stornoway. Further south, 24 or 25 Celsius quite widely towards the southeast. So a fine day, a beautiful evening if you've got plans for a barbecue, and then it's remaining largely dry overnight. That rain to the north of Scotland eases away for a time. A few mist and fog patches cropping up here and there inland, and again around the Irish Sea we'll have some mist and some low cloud as well. Now, temperatures in the east falling lowest, down into mid-single figures, so quite a fresh start to your bank holiday Monday here, but another fine day. In fact, glorious conditions across many parts of the country. Again, we have got a bit more cloud towards the north and the west. Around some coasts of Wales, for instance, could be a little bit of low cloud at times, but I think less extensive than recent days. Temperatures getting up to 26 or 27 Celsius, making it the warmest early May bank holiday on record. Just a bit cooler for eastern Scotland and northeast England. Into Tuesday, a front moves in from the west, really just a line of cloud with a little patchy rain across some northern and western parts. Still sunny and warm towards the southeast, temperatures 26 or 27 Celsius once again on Tuesday. Another warm day to come. Cooler conditions though through the middle of the week as we see low pressure moving its way in from the Atlantic. So Wednesday, not a bad day. That first front eases away. This next frontal system heads into the west. So it's cooling down through the course of the week ahead. A little rain in the northwest. Things do stay sunny and warm in the southeast. Bye for now.